Hey, welcome to Bears Banter. My name is Bernard Muhammad. On the broadcast alongside of me today is Guy Moore, Jay Beasley, and Keith Flournoy. And Tammy, get well, Tammy. We're looking forward for you on the next broadcast.
Well, Tammy,
Get well,
Hey,
Tammy.
all right. How y'all doing today?
Doing good.
good,
Doing
good.
good?
Doing good.
Yeah.
We're doing good.
Hey, look
I
like
can't
Club
complain.
Dub is open 2 weeks in a row. What? How about that?
Woo, woo.
Well, with all
Man,
the people that are dropping from this Omnicron, I don't even know if Club Dub gonna be open. It's gonna be probably Club Zoom.
well, Andy did a really great job, and if it wasn't for Andy, we wouldn't have won this game. And Andy led the team really well.
Cut
Man,
it
he
out.
got 103 yards
Nah,
total.
brother. The game ball goes to Mike Glennon.
Hey, he wants to
If
throw
he
us
gave
the
it to,
ball, man.
he
He
got
still
the
owes
ball and
us
he gave it
money.
to us. So,
Hey,
I'm
hey,
hoping
hey,
my
hey, Plank,
grandson is watching today.
Plank,
I'm
you
sorry, what?
said Mike Glendon is just paying us back the money he stole from us.
He
I
knows
guess
he wants to throw us the ball,
You
man.
called it though, B. You called it. You was like, man, you was like, hopefully we can get some of that stuff back. And no sooner did he do it the very first play, I'm like, hot dog,
You
rap
know
on
what
his
though?
mama.
What killed me about that play is that's the same thing that all of these vets were talking about. Justin Fields doesn't have the wherewithal to be able to see the open unblocked linebacker, and that's the exact same thing that happened to Mike Lennon first play of the game. Nobody
There you
said a
go.
thing about that.
There
Right,
you go.
right,
yeah.
right.
There you go. This is truth, man.
Before we get into the game itself, just us talking about Mike Glennon, it's hard to believe that the Chicago management actually thought this guy was a starting quarterback. He he doesn't look like he really should be more than holding a clipboard for any team. That's not to take anything away from how great of a job Chicago Bears defense did on him today. But that guy just looked like, oh my God. I don't know. He doesn't look like you would think he just got drafted. And this guy been around the league, what, about 6 to 7 years?
No,
Stealing
longer than that.
money longer than that.
Longer than
Longer
that.
than that?
Longer than that.
Okay.
Longer than that. The bottom line to me is players like is quarterbacks like Mike Glennon and Chase Daniel who are continuing to collect a paycheck in the NFL when you got these young quarterbacks out here that's coming out of college that can be developed if they get on
Hmm.
the right team, man. You,
Yes.
you know, you,
Yes.
Mike Glennon, looking at Mike Glennon today, he shouldn't even be in the league. That was actually I don't even know the word to use. How bad this dude looked, man. This dude passed for what was it?
He
10
passed
yards?
for a net 14 yards. He had 24 of 11 for 24 yards and two picks, but he got
This
sacked,
is the
so there was a minus
NFL.
10.
This is the NFL. And those are the stats that you're putting
Right.
out. Look at the quarterback from Baltimore. What's his name? Huntley.
Jackson?
He
Oh,
started his first, no, Huntley, the
oh,
backup.
oh, Huntley. Yeah.
He started his first game against the Bears, and he fared a lot better than a
He did.
veteran like Mike Glennon did. This is absolutely atrocious, man. But I've said it so many times. You got these quarterbacks that continue to collect a paycheck, and you got these young guys out here that you can develop, and they can actually become a serviceable quarterback. Mike Glenn's performance today showed he not even serviceable. And the sad thing about that is, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox real quick.
Stay
The
on it.
sad thing about it is
Just how it
they
goes,
kept,
Jay.
they kept him in the game because the quarterback that's behind him, they was even fearful of putting him in the game.
He couldn't have been worse. He could not
Let
have
me
been
tag
worse.
in.
It
Let me
was.
tag. Hey, let me tag in real quick, man. You know what? We were going back and forth on the board about how in training camp, how if you have a quarterback who you bring in, Dalton, uh, you would think, logistically that you would give Fields first team reps. But I understand because it's so short and the preseason is short, you want to get this quarterback as ready as possible. But if you look at these great teams that have a situation where they have a really good quarterback that's going to start, he gets injured or something, and they bring this new guy in, they dumb it down. And I said this last year, cut the field in half. You got your reads. You go 1, 2, and if your guy on this side, your third read is close in and open, throw it to him. If it's kind of like a gimme, you either run it or throw it out of bounds. They start coming up with this Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey circus. Kid is already, as a kid, you're already frustrated with the fact that you were able to just do slant routes, just complete passes like crazy. But now you look at the guy who's probably could have been a bench cornerback, is the best cornerback that you've ever faced. So now you freaking out and thinking too much. Glennon has been here too long, man. It's either because I think what they did is they did the quick eye test when he was in Tampa Bay. It's like, oh yeah, he came in and he did really good. Yeah, we could sign him, but they didn't really look at what he did. Now you see what he did, and if you're smart and you're an NFL team, only thing he could do is get donuts and hold a clipboard, man.
I'll tell you what, Colin Kaepernick can come off the couch right now and outplay that guy today.
There you go. And that's what people think. And people think that we complain and we like, oh, well, y'all ain't give Colin a kick. Let's forget the whole political side of it. Regardless of what it is, he wasn't a lights out quarterback, but one, he went to the Super Bowl. Number two, he's got experience. Number three, when they only won one game, guess who won the one game? It sat on the bench most of the year. Colin Kaepernick. Right now, as of right now, if you called his number, he would be 10 times better than this clown out here. But then I don't want to see him because he wouldn't have got the picks maybe.
I think he was a lights out quarterback. I remember him playing against us with that RPO. He killed the Bears when the defense was actually pretty decent.
Yeah. But when they started, and you know what play to back it up, that was Colin Kaepernick's first start.
Yep.
As a 7-6 against the Bears.
Yeah. But you know what? But then too,
killed us.
I digress.
Yeah,
I digress.
I got you. And I'm not. It's not even a slight account. Bottom line is, people hollering, and screaming. You guys are crying. Everybody crying about Colin Kaepernick, and it was a lot of black folks too. But I bet you a whole lot of black folks. You ask them now, if they humble, they'll say, yeah, you got a point. But it's always gonna be the ones like, no, such and such and such and such. But we all saw this game. And I can tell you right now, Colin Kaepernick, that hasn't been in the league since the Civil Rights Movement, would have did a better job.
He definitely would have did a much better job than what you saw today. I mean, even the guy who starting quarterback, can't think his name right now, for the Washington Redskins. I shouldn't say Washington Redskins. The Washington football team. He came in a playoff game.
Right. Tyler Henneke.
Yeah. And he came in the playoff game last year against Tampa Bay from a week before, I think, was just studying for finals and looked like a professional football player, where he's actually then started most of the season this year. But hey, let's look at this and let's get into this game. The Bears defeat the Giants 29-3. Let's look at some of the stats. Mike Glennon. It wasn't even that close. Mike Glennon was 4 of 11. 24 yards passing, averaged 2.2 per completion, 2 interceptions, and I believe two fumbles. Actually, he had more than that, but a couple of them were recovered. Andy Dalton was 18 of 35. I'm not sure why you throwing 35 times when this game was clearly in control from the first turnover.
Absolutely.
173 yards, average 4.9 per pass, 1 TD, 1 interception. So Saquon Barkley, 21 attempts, 102 yards. David Montgomery, 22 carries, 64 yards, average of 2.9 a carry. Andy Dalton, 3 carries, 14 yards. I don't know why Andy Dalton has more carries than Khalil Herbert. I know those were scrambles. Khalil Herbert, 2 carries, 9 yards, average of 4.5. Robert Quinn did get the sack record. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good job, Uncle Rob.
I was definitely rooting for him because I wanted him to break it this week because it's 16 games versus breaking it next week in 17 games. And then, see, those are the pairs that people split. It's like, well, he got 18 sacks, but it took him 17 games. Well, he got 18 sacks in 16 games. So I was glad he broke the record today.
Down there in the comments.
I don't know who that was on Facebook, but we don't act like racism doesn't exist. It absolutely does.
No, we do know.
And one of the things we're going to see is do this coaching search. We got the Rooney Rule. We got all these different things in there. let's see who we actually come up as candidates for all of these open positions. This is going to be pretty ridiculous if you ask me.
Right,
Yeah,
not
that's
just for the
absolutely
Bears,
true.
Right?
not just for the Bears, not just for the Bears, but for the entire NFL. Because the bottom line is, and like I say, for some reason today I ain't work today, and I'm trying to be on my soapbox. I didn't go to the game, so I'm really trying to be on my soapbox. But I'm like, not just for the Bears, not just for the Bears, but around the league. Because the bottom line is, how do you have as many African American players in the league, and we don't have African American coaches? That's all I'm saying.
Let
Oh,
me
it
ask you this
absolutely
question.
does.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
How was Matt Nagy not the worst coach on the field today? Think about that. The Giants coach was leaps and bounds worse than Matt Nagy, and
And that's
he's got an
sad.
NFL coaching
But
position.
How
one
sad is
thing I
that?
can't give them,
How
I
sad is
was
that?
looking at that and it's like, it's almost like they got their arms cut off because I'm looking up, I'm like, man, usually, if you are, and especially if you're a fantasy football player, if you got a running back in there, you start looking at scores. As soon as you start seeing you got 0, 3, or 7, and the other team like 14, 21, 28 going to the third quarter, and your running back ain't getting nothing. He just kept running this dude, man. He got 102 yards. Now, just imagine what would have happened if we had just said in the third quarter, okay, we ain't got to take the breaks off. Let's just run the ball. Man, this boy Montgomery would have had about 160 yards. He would
And
have
see,
had
that's
it.
the thing. But not, and
Lukman
see, that's the
says,
thing. But
Lukman, look, watching us on YouTube.
Big
Luke,
Luke,
man, what's
what's up,
up,
Big
brother?
Luke?
He said he didn't know New York was that bad this year. You,
They
you
didn't
know,
either.
yeah, they think about it. They fired Jason Garrett before a year was over.
Mhm.
Yeah.
mhm.
I mean, that's just how bad that team, the organization is being ran. But that's to take nothing away from the Bears today.
Right.
It's good to see a W, but there was some things in this game that still it,
Troubling,
it confirms of
troubling.
why Nagy needs to go, and there needs to be some change. It was too many times when you looked at even Jake maybe explain even better, or one of y'all on like there
I
was
can't.
route combinations where you kind of was like, what are they doing? I mean, like, why
Please
Y'all
is
let
say,
him
everybody
say it.
running
y'all
the
say,
Please
curl
let
at the
Jay say
same
what he
time?
said off camera.
Why is everybody
Please
y'all trying
doing
to give me the
this?
whole story. Y'all trying to
let
give
him
me the
say
whole
it. Go
story,
ahead,
right?
Jay. Do it, man. Go ahead, man. Please.
Look, first of all, let me tell y'all something. At the opening snap, when I saw Jason Peters starting at left tackle, I sent y'all a text. I was like, okay, you know what? This is why the Bears need a vice president of operations that's going to tell the GM, that's going to tell the head coach, look, Jason Peters is 39 years old. He's not a part of our plans. We have Tevin Jenkins and we have Larry Borum, who we drafted last year. I need somebody at Hollis Hall to go down and tell the coach, like, the season is over. We're not playing for anything. I need to see these young players playing right now, developing, because what sense you're winning, you're starting Jason Peters and winning this game is doing nothing for your record. It's not going to save your job. But because you don't have a vice president of operations, telling the general manager, telling the head coach, these are the people that I need to see play. This is what we get. This is what we get. And it's absolutely sad. Like I said, I'm so glad we got one game left this year. This season is over. And I will be so glad when Black Monday comes to see this entire regime out of here.
I hope.
Right.
I absolutely hope that's how it works out.
Yeah,
It,
and
it would
normally,
be criminal if it doesn't work out that way.
Pike, this is an excellent point. Normally we just jump into, we usually start with offense and on most of our broadcasts, but the offense performance today, even though he got 29 points, was really not that inspiring today. I really like to,
Abysmal.
to switch up today and start off with the defense. Hey, Plank, what you saw the defense today from the beginning of the game? Let's start off with the defense today versus the offense.
What I looked at today is a team that was overmatched. So as much as I love our defense, and I think our defense, is a lot of times uh, overlooked. Today I was just looking at who they were playing against. that defensive end, 99, I think Gibson.
Gibson.
He is not a world beater. So the reasons that he looked so good today is because they had a offensive tackle that probably was bagging groceries last week. So, New York is one of those teams that was decimated by COVID. And that just goes into another subject altogether that many of those players shouldn't even been playing. You probably had 50% of their starters that actually weren't able to get out there and play today because of COVID and various injuries, but we still have people out there. That said, the defense showed up. We got, I think we got 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, and we came out with a safety. In the middle of me looking at that game, I kept asking myself, I said, okay, what are the Bears Banter crew? What kind of grades are we going to give defense today? And I don't want to be the first one to do it because otherwise, I'll get the Thanos glove right away.
Hey, but you know what? We can't control who they put in front of us. You put the teams there and you play them.
Absolutely.
I don't care what nobody say. I'll go
Absolutely.
first. I got to get a defensive A. And I'm going to tell you why. You know what? People can talk about inefficiencies and everything else. I saw so much penetration, it wasn't even funny. It was like every time Glennon dropped back, it was at least 2 dudes already there. And I was looking at offensive linemen get beat. I'm looking at them like, man, they got the wrong color uniform on. It almost looked like us sometimes. I mean, these dudes was playing lights out. Deion Bush gets a pick. I mean, these guys just neutralized everything. And really, to be perfectly honest, if you want to talk about this game, the real score is 18-3. And that's basically what the Bears scored on defense as far as we're really responsible for as far as us scoring, man. Their defense played great. And like I said, this game was one of those games like if you see Tampa Bay now play the Giants. And when it come up, everybody, their mother and father, even betting people going to be like, man, Giants about to get the brakes beat off of them. And it happens. And everything you say happens. That's what happened today. Our defense just was tall, man. They did their thing, man. So my grade for the defense is an A.
I saw Eddie Jackson making tackles today.
Man, who you when you see numbers that you don't recognize.
The first safety, the next play ended up being a safety, but he was almost part of that tackle to get a safety. So
when you have to go through a roster to figure out whose number is such and such, and you see these people getting penetration, it was a long day for the Giants, man.
Yeah, it was. It was a long day for the Giants, man. And you know what? It just shows how bad that football team is.
Yeah, they're in bad shape.
We're bad. We are bad.
We are bad.
But man, the Giants are bad. They talking about David Gettleman being fired, and they don't know if Joe Judge is going to be back. They done had 2 head coaches in the last 4 years. So I'll let you know how bad that team is. Not to mention, like Guy just said, they've been decimated by injuries. Keep mentioning the COVID list and all these things, but the Giants are bad. And the thing about it is they got our first round pick. So if the draft was tomorrow, they would be picking, I believe, 4th and like 9th in the first round. But we've just played a bad football team today. I mean, we bad, but the Giants are terrible.
And they hired Jason Garrett to be their offensive coordinator.
But you know what? But guess what, though? Guess what? With that 4th pick, you know what that 4th pick going to look like if they don't make changes? What Saquon Barkley did. Saquon Barkley was their MVP, was their most valuable player, their best player. He was the only player that was out there was actually doing something. They get this 4th pick and they don't figure out that whole offensive line situation. It's just going to be that 4th pick's going to do pretty good, and everybody else besides Saquon Barkley is going to suck.
Well, they better not use that 4th pick for a running back. They might want to get an offensive lineman. They might want to get a receiver.
They might want to get an offensive lineman with both of those picks because they can't protect the quarterback, man. I mean, Glennon, like as bad as he is, the dude didn't stand a chance, man. The dude did not stand a chance. And he's bad. So that doesn't help.
Yeah. Hey, as far as the Bears defense today, I get a Bears defense an A today. I thought they did everything they were what they were supposed to do. I thought even though they played a bad team, they still capitalized on the mistakes and created mistakes and turnovers. And unfortunately, this is what you saw in 2018 that made people think Nagy was calling a good offense. You seen these kind of short fields, right? That was converted into
that's a good point, Bernard.
Right.
That's
And
a good
then
point, Bernard.
you look at the scoreboard. If you
point.
don't watch this game, you say the Bears got 29 points. But like guys say, if you take all those, 3 of those, one touchdown was less than 10 yards to score. The second one was less than 5 yards to score. The field goal, I believe, the safety, you got a safety out of defense. So you got 16 points without even having to move the ball, not even 20 yards.
It was a gimme.
Right. And this is what was happening in 2018. And we thought, man, and
we sucked it up.
We kind of saw the offense, but
we sucked it up.
But you know what? Let's keep it real though, Bernard. You know what? The one thing that, like I said, I talked about off camera, what I love about our show, and this is on some straight up pop your collar stuff. We watch football. I mean, if you guys could even be privy to our text, I mean, it's like if it's a bowl game on, we was watching the Rose Bowl, we was watching that boy just light them dudes up yesterday, Ohio State. Yeah. I was like, who's guarding this dude? But we watch football. And if you watch football, the reason why I gave the Bears an A is because every last one of us saw when the Giants played the Cowboys, and they played 10 times better. They lost, but it's like 2 different teams. And when I saw them play today, and that's why I say, you know what, you don't control the teams that you go with. I was thinking that, well, okay, I got the Bears to win, but maybe the Giants going to have a little pride and show up. It's not that they don't have pride. They just ain't got it. And it's like what goes back to the whole thing with Glennon. They did their intel on Glennon by 1 game. Oh, he was lights out. That 1 game, everybody's got 1 great game. What happens in game 2, 3, and 4? Because usually guys that are lights out like that, if they the real deal, they're going to come somewhat close in them next games. But as you see a gradual digression in games and you took that intel from the first one, you can't be surprised that every time dudes snap back, he getting interceptions and fumbles.
We saw it a lot in Chicago. We knew what Mike Glennon was.
Unfortunately, man.
Yeah. Hey, so Plank, what is your grade for the defense, Plank? You didn't give a grade, I know.
I'm sorry, man. A+.
Okay.
NFL game, you gave up 3 points, 2 interceptions, a safety,
and 24 yards passing.
But we did give up a lot. We did give up over 100 yards rushing, so I don't necessarily like that. But,
well, you can give up 100. You can give up 100. You can give up 100 yards rushing when the other team don't trust their quarterback to drop back and pick them back.
Yeah, 40 rushes, 161 yards.
It's 3rd and 8, and they still running the football. You know
what? This game was so bad. I didn't think Robert Quinn was going to get a chance to get the sack record because they were scared to pass more than we were. Like, oh my God!
Right.
It's something when you losing a game by that many points and you
still running the football.
Yeah, and at one point they had only had about 3 pass attempts, but you were down by 3 to 4 scores even at that point. So that
they had a sack, an interception.
Hey, but Bernard, you said that in the post that they only had 3 passes. That next play he passed, he probably looked at you like, "I'll show you. We had 4 passes." That was funny, man. But that's absolutely true, man. I mean, like I said, man. You know what? I mean, we don't choose who we play. You just go out and you play hard. If you play a busted team and you win, yeah, people say it's a busted team, but a W's a W. I got my 6 wins on the year so far. So if they win 7.
Sign Glennon to a $30 million contract when he played for the Bears?
Yeah,
it was
like $10 million a year, something like that, wasn't it?
No, I want to say it was 3. I want to say it was 3 years, $24 million, and $18 million guaranteed the first year. If I remember correctly,
stealing money.
3 years, $24 million, $18 million guaranteed the first year. So yeah, we paid him $18 million.
Hey, but if his eye busted, he can afford to go to Smith and Williski to put a stake on his eye.
Hey, Tammy, how you doing?
Tammy. Hey, Tammy.
We gotta hear what Jay gonna get a defense. Come on, bro.
Hey, Jay, and Tammy been coming after you today. She even put right here. She was like, Jay finally came over to the dark side. For those who are doing this show, they probably Tammy is one of the co-hosts on the show. If you just tuned us in or never seen this show before, she's out sick today. But we had all been beating up on Jay for the last year or so about Matt Nagy should be fired.
Rightly so.
So whatever.
I was just getting ready to say, Tammy picking on me today. She ain't on the show,
Rightly
so now
so.
she's picking on me today. But it's cool. It's cool. Get well, baby girl. But I'm gonna tell you, I have to give the defense an A. I do give them an A. I do give them an A because the bottom line, like I said, you don't control who you playing, who's in front of you. And the bottom line is, they set the tone on the first play of the game.
Yep.
They set the tone. The defense set the tone. And after that, it lets you know that the Giants were fearful of even throwing the ball because they didn't. You down 3 scores, it's 38 on your own 40, and you still running the football. They had no confidence in their offense at all. And because of that, 4 turnovers, 4 sacks, you gotta give them an A. So yeah, Tammy, I give them an A today.
See, but we lost last week for a reason because I had my live installation. I was out here all G'd up with my little suit and all that stuff.
No, we won
My grandson got me this hat. He got me this Bears hat, and it says G-Pop. And he's a little upset because I was supposed to wear it after Christmas. But not only did I do that, I bought my Bears helmet snow globe as well, too.
All right.
So I had this on, and as soon as I started shaking the very first play of the game, I was like hot dog. So I've been holding on to this joker. Let's see what happens next week, though.
Okay. Hey, Mark Chin is watching us on Facebook. Mark said, I called it 7-10, so I need one more win. Take it however you get it. That's correct. Mark also has another comment. Mark says, I'm on injury reserve. I fell down the steps and can't walk. Oh, no, bro. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, man.
Feel better, brother.
Man, hope you feel
I'm
better.
out of here in the bed.
I'm going to hit you
4
up later,
tickets,
man.
100 level. If I could, nobody else wanted them. Okay. Last comment with Tammy. What's that, Jay?
No, I was going to say, Mark, guess what? We didn't go to the game this week either, and we couldn't even sell our tickets. We tried to sell our tickets, and we didn't find no buyer for our tickets. We didn't even find no buyer for our tickets, so we did wind up just giving them away. We couldn't even find a buyer. So, and you was on 100 level. I don't know. You could have hit me up, bro. I might have took them.
All this time, I thought Mark was indestructible. I'm surprised.
Tammy say she's stunned. She's stunned by your age, man. Tammy say she's stunned by your age. She still love you, so.
Hey, baby, man, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I don't think, you know what, and here's the deal. Let me kind of cut away from this real quick. I don't think people realize how valuable Tammy is to us, man. A lot of times I think people look up, and I mean, and it's like the machismo of some guys. They look at some women, but at the very beginning last year, I used to talk about how I would go to like football parties, like Super Bowl parties, and you'd have some women there socialize and stuff, but majority of women were actually sitting there and they were actually watching plays like, why did he run through that hole right there? They keep running stuff. And I'm like, okay, I grab my beer and I'm like ear hustling. And I've come to the conclusion, it's a lot of sisters out here and women who actually watch football. And I know when we first started doing this a year ago, I know Tammy, because she is a perfectionist. I mean, she's great at everything that she does, but when she feels like she's out of her element, you know, she kind of had a little trepidation, and we all per person was like, man, you could do this. And look at her. She lights out now, man. She's out here talking about cornerbacks. Man, she's straight up lights out. Anytime we sit up on text, we sit up here and ask, hey, Tammy, what do you think? So get all that stuff out there. You ain't have to necessarily play football. If you watch football as much as we do and you start looking at nuances, man, you know what we know. That's why we here, because we are y'all. Oh, man. I appreciate you.
I don't know if you know, Guy, but you know, the biggest buyers of NFL jersey are women, actually.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I believe that.
Yeah.
No, it's funny to me that a lot of times guys get to arguing on Facebook or text messages with Tammy about concepts, and you know, she'll call with us and we'd be like, hey, first of all, you're right. Second of all, dude, you don't even have any idea what you're talking about.
And to me, it's one of those things where either one of us can post something and won't nobody say nothing. Right. The minute Tammy posts something, then they want to go in all on her. Like, okay, don't argue with her, argue with me.
She a
Right.
killer though. She a killer.
But she stands alone like our first lady of Bears Banter,
Yeah.
Tammy
Absolutely.
Harris,
She's a bit angry most of the
100%.
time too. She gets the
Yeah,
Thanos
hey,
glove.
Plank got that looked at the last, I think it was the last broadcast. I'm not sure why I didn't. I guess because we won. But if we had not won, Tammy would have got the Thanos glove. she would have got the Thanos glove at that time. I said, "Oh, but we won," so I wasn't thinking about the glove. But anyway, hey, let's like to thank everybody who's watching us on YouTube and Facebook today as the Bears defeat the Giants 29-3. Hey, let's look at the win-loss record. Then we'll go over to the offense. The guy is 11-5. Quick is 11-5. I'm 11-5. Jay is 10-6. Tammy is 6-10, and Plank is 6-10.
That don't sound right.
It don't sound right.
What's the Bears record right now?
That's right, 6-10.
6-10.
Okay, then that's right.
Right, because it's another game. And it throws me off too because I know we got another game. It's usually this is the last game of the season. Why y'all scared of her so super jocking is taking place? I'm scared of her as well.
Hey, I don't fight people out that can win, so forget that.
Right.
That's why you said last broadcast, I was like, I ain't playing no dozens with Tammy. I ain't getting marked. I'm smart enough to know I can't hang. I don't want the smoke.
Hey, moving over to the Bears offense, we read the stats early. They were not a whole lot of stats as far as the offense, but you still take advantage of the opportunities and short fields that you are presented with in a game. But what I did notice today is there were times where Andy Dalton had so much time to throw the ball, but what was puzzling in those times was he still threw either incomplete passes or the receivers' routes trees, like Jay had mentioned early, was so weird that it made absolutely no sense of what was going on. And also, for them to have this type of a lead, there was not enough running in this game for the Bears to have been ahead of this game. And also, to me, they should have been playing, like Jay had mentioned, as far as linemen. There's no reason Jason Peters should have been in this game. You play, like you start your guys who's going to be here next year, in my opinion. So offensively, just looking at the Bears as a team, to me at this point, it doesn't matter if it was Nagy or Laser, because overall, neither one of them has gotten the job done. I don't know if it's the influence of Nagy or what the situation is, but offensively, this team, we got to do something different next year as far as offense. And it's just one, I'm just like, let's hurry up and get this one game over. But you have playing. You know what? My grade for the offense, it's so hard to grade because the score indicates like they did a great job. But if I look at the offensive stats and all that, this really was a C performance by the offense. More so like a C minus, because you should have had about 40 some points. This team was so awful that you should have had 40 some points. I mean, defense gave you such a short field and easy scores that there was no reason why. I believe you only got one touchdown and a field goal at the halftime. I don't remember what the box scores said, but yeah, it was really more like a C or C minus offense. But yeah, Plank.
Yeah, I agree with you. So one of the first things I wanted to do was talk a little bit before Guy got on here. When I'm looking at their route trees that the receivers are running, they were so close together. There was no spacing. As a defensive player, I can guard both of those guys at the same time. That's why it makes it so hard for them to get open. You had a couple of times where AR ended up running the wrong route, so you could tell that he wasn't familiar in doing what he's supposed to do. And that should never be happening 6 games in, especially for a wide receiver that's been in the same system for the last 3 years, last 4 years. So from a route tree perspective and the spacing perspective, we're not even close to being a good offense. So I wanted to put that out there. It's real easy to play defense against these guys. Jay, what you got?
I'll give them a C minus as well.
C minus. Thank you.
Because again, I said, at the beginning of the show or right before we came on, it's sad to see wide receivers running routes, and you got two wide receivers within 2 or 3 yards of each other on on a completion or incompletion. This I don't understand. Like I said, I've never been an offensive coordinator. I played wide receiver. I've never been an offensive coordinator, but I know what spacing and what route trees should look like, and what they're calling on offense is atrocious. And it's hard to run a fluent offense when you got people running into each other, people on the same level. You got two people running a different route, but they both running them 10 yards. So there's no spacing.
Right.
I don't understand it. I have to give them a C minus. I think Andy Dalton attempted 35 passes.
Wow.
You were already up 14-0 in the first quarter. How do you attempt 35 passes?
Right.
And you wind up still only completing maybe 16 or 17. I don't have the stats in front of me. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, I don't even really care. It doesn't really matter. But the bottom line is this offense is anemic. This coaching staff is garbage. And I'll be so glad when this season is over with. But to grade this offense, I get him a C minus. Cole Kmet, oh my God, I don't even know what to I don't even know. I don't even know where to start or end, man. I really don't. I really don't. You get short fields. It's just bad. It's so bad, man. And there's no way around it. Andy Dalton is who Andy Dalton is. We had something early in the week. Me and Keith went back and forth. He's like, "Why is Andy Dalton starting?" I'm like, "Well, because they told him he was QB2 after they told him he was QB1. So of course he's gonna start." My buddy told me he texted me, he's like, "I would have rather much saw Nick Foles."
Me too.
At this point, I thought about it and I was like, I would have rather seen Nick Foles too, because guess what? He is under contract for one more year.
Yeah, he's gonna be on the team most likely next year.
And
Happy feet and all.
Gonna be here. So
right.
But yeah, so it is what it is. C minus for the offense. C minus for the offense.
Yeah, Mark Chen, those who didn't see it score, Mark Chen is watching on Facebook. He gives the Bears offense a C. And also he mentioned this, that Andy Dalton, even though he only threw one interception, he actually tried to throw about 4 of them.
Yeah, he did.
He's got terrible hands. That's why.
Right.
When you're playing a bad Giants team, they drop 3 interceptions, because that's exactly what happened today. They dropped 3 interceptions today.
Yeah, him and Glennon were doing their best impression of each other as far as trying to see who could at least throw the ball to the other guys, other team's hands, right? And just see who would catch it, right?
Yep.
Hey, Bernard, when in doubt, we just going to throw the wildcat at him, and we're going to let our running back start throwing passes, too.
Hey, let's talk about that, Plank. Let's talk about this. We have figured out this year that if the Bears get in the goal line, they're going to get in wildcat formation. Now, this is what's puzzling to me. I don't recall not one time this year when they went into wildcat on the goal line, they've actually scored from that play.
Never.
So, to me, you go to a play that's your bread and butter on the goal line, because every team have a certain play that they know usually work for them on the goal line. The Bears, for some reason, think it's the wildcat, and it doesn't work. Matter of fact, they even got an interception out of the wildcat today, because they're really going to fool them this time. Montgomery is not even going to run it; he's going to throw it in. Why?
But I ain't gonna say. Had Montgomery threw a better pass, it was a touchdown, because the dude was wide open.
Yeah, but he did.
Was wide open. But at the same time, you're running a wildcat on the goal line. The defense knows that the person that's getting the snap 9 times out of 10 is going to run the football. So all we got to do is stop the guy that's getting the football. And then when you decide that we're going to run the wildcat, but we're going to pass it, you leave it to a running back who hasn't attempted a pass, I don't believe, since he's been here, since he got drafted from Iowa State. Now you're going to have him run it, and now you see why. Come on, man.
I'll tell you what, the Bears did have one good offensive play. That's the first touchdown. They had Kyrus Tonga play fullback and lay it through the hole. When I looked at that, I said, now, see, that's the kind of innovation that you actually need. No, get
Yeah,
yourself a
playing.
320-pound blocking back in front of Montgomery. You didn't see nobody from New York even attempt to get in
They
Yeah,
didn't
he
want to touch
did.
him.
Yeah,
They
he
didn't
did.
want to
They
touch him.
played that Olay defense. As soon as they saw him, it was like, oops, I missed
Hey,
him.
playing.
Like they
It's
see the
kind of
footage.
like when they did some trickery today when they did the flea flicker. And now, to me, that was interesting because there
That was a
has been
booger
games
flicker.
this year where the Bears have really struggled offensively to move the ball. And you think like when you have games like that, you try to do anything you can to move the ball. Today, when you up by a bunch of points, you pulling out flea flickers for what? I
and
mean,
you
I didn't
throw the ball
understand
to
it.
the
It
same
worked,
guy
but
that
it
just
was
threw it
like,
back to you.
But you know what? Those type of plays like that flea figure today, Bernard, you're exactly right. Because what that proves to me is like Matt Nagy, like, okay, now I'm gonna put out a flea flicker because I'm up. I'm I'm up on the scoreboard. So now I can run a flea flicker. But guess what? When you need points, when you need yards, are you confident enough to actually run that play against
Nope.
a better team? That's the New
Nope.
York Giants.
Nope.
So that just lets me know how incompetent that this coaching staff is, man. I'm only gonna run something when I know it's gonna work against a bad team. Am I confident enough to to call this play against the Rams when I'm down 10 points and I need a first down? Man, come on. I'm so glad this over with, man.
You know what
I'm
though?
so
What
glad
this
this over
actually
with.
proved was,
I'm so glad
when
this over
Nagy
with.
first came in, he said it was going to take 4 years to get to the 400 level of his offense. This is year 4. We
And
clearly
we
see he didn't know what he was doing year 1 and didn't get any better.
well, Keith, I ain't gonna say he
Come
didn't know
on.
what he was doing year one. I
Oh,
ain't gonna say that
really?
because he won coach of the year. Now, come on.
Uh, when you
Let's be
get
granted.
let's
Granted.
call this
No,
what
no,
it
no,
is.
no,
When
no,
you
no,
got
no,
Vic
no.
Fangio turning over the ball, leading the league in turnovers, leading
And
the
you're
league in
putting
sacks,
and you're
that puts
scoring
you in a
points,
position where you
but you're
got short
scoring
field.
points. And you're
Yes.
scoring points though. You're being innovative. You calling the Santa sleigh and you calling all this stuff that
Okay.
you thought was gonna be innovative. Yeah, but when you can't get the turnovers, can you call
Right.
an offense that's gonna put the ball in the end zone? And what we found out since 2018, Matt Nagy can't do that.
Right.
Everybody talked about how good Matt Nagy was with the media and all that. It's good to be good when you're winning, but can you take on the pressure when you're losing?
But you know what,
And
Jay?
that's the thing.
All of the signs were out there beforehand. If we had seen Matt Nagy in his playoff game in Kansas City, he did the exact same thing. Even with Patrick Mahomes and all the guys that they had, they ended up scoring, I think, 11 points in the playoff game with Matt Nagy calling the plays.
But
So
that was Andy
this
Reid fault.
this ain't no
That was Andy Reid
surprise.
fault. That was Andy Reid fault. He shouldn't let him call play. They had got that far. They shouldn't let him call play. They ain't got that far. Why change? Why change a good thing? Why change a good thing? But anyway,
you know
that's
what?
another
Let's go
story.
back to 2018 for one moment. One of the plays that on the 2018 that used to drive me crazy that the Bears would do on the goal line was Matt Nagy will always call this shuttle pass, and I'd be like, "Why is he trying to be
Yeah.
cute?
He
Right? He's
called it
trying to be
today. He
cute. You
called it
got 1
today.
yard to use
He
shuttle
called it
Don't
passes.
today.
commit.
Yeah.
He called it today. But you know what? He envisioning that Travis Kelce, because you know what's one of Kansas City's signature plays. You know that's one of Kansas City's signature plays. Pat Mahomes to Travis Kelce with the shovel play on the goal line for a touchdown. That's a signature play for Kansas City. Guess what? You ain't got Travis Kelce though. Cole
Look at
Kmet ain't
what
Travis Kelce.
Tammy just put a little point out there.
What's
We're
he
Cav,
say?
talking
he
about
Oh,
What's he
let me
say?
go bring
special
that
put
back
that
up
back
on the
teams
out there.
screen.
up.
Oops.
Aha.
First lady strikes.
Benefits. She was ready for you, guy.
She was
Hey,
ready.
hey.
She ready
Hey
for you,
man,
Jay. Sorry.
you know what? Here's the deal. I'm gonna give the offense a D plus. and this
C
is
plus.
why.
Okay.
We didn't all watch football. I'm gonna tell you, what does the Washington Redskins, the old school Washington Redskins, have to do with this whole situation? They were the bornest football in the history of NFL. But you know what? They won games. You want to know why? There was a certain unwritten rule. If you are up with a decent amount in the third, a critical amount in the third quarter, you running the damn ball and you running the clock. You're not snapping the ball till 7 to 5 seconds. You keep running it. You keep running it. You run here, they stop it. You run there till they stop it. By the time they've figured out your running game, the game's over. You win. You're not throwing no balls. I mean, people think it's rocket science. It's like if I'm up 29-3 in the third quarter, I'm running every rip. Even if I go 3 and out, I may run a screen or something like that, but I'm burning clock. So with that said, I was playing around. I don't know if y'all can see this, but I did this thing. Instead of doing the curls, you got your Y here. You got your Z. You got your tight end. I mean, you got your Y, your Z, and you got your X over here. Instead of running all these curls, get this guy to go straight out. You got your tight end. You can give him his little curl. Here's your little rub right there. You can have your Z go out and clear out. It depends on what the defensive back does. The defensive back closes in, you run him out. Now you got all this to throw a pass. And the reason why I do this, I know it's only Madden, but I made that play in Madden. And every time I run that play, and I've run it about 50 times, I've never got less than 7 yards. But my point is this. Nagy is making this whole thing out to be like a circus, man. It's like, why you even need a flea flicker? You know what I'm saying? Just like Jay said, you know what? In crunch time, when you need it, are you going to run that play? No. Well, he might do it, but is he going to be successful with it? No, because basically everybody knows these type of plays. And you're going up against the Giants. You go up against Tampa Bay or somebody with that garbage. It's going to be a pick six, but I give him a D plus. And like I said, man, this ain't rocket science. We got too many inefficiencies. We're not running the ball. We'll run the ball for 7 yards, and most people with common sense will think, oh, they about to run it down their throat. Then here goes Montgomery out, and then you throw a pass, and then on the first, it was like a 2nd and 5 or something. He throws a pass or whatever. No, it was. It was a 1st and 10. Montgomery rips off 7 yards. The next play, he throws a pass, and I'm like, really? It ain't rocket science. He's making it more complicated. He's almost like that dude that went and did like a physics problem, and he puts it all out there, but he try to solve it like it's 1 + 2. Okay, just run right, run left, run middle, run clock. So
Hey, I like to mention that
John Madden too.
That's what I was actually about to say. I'm glad you brought that plank up. Yeah, rest in peace to John Madden and Dan Quinn, who both passed in the last few days.
Dan Reeves.
I'm sorry, I'm saying Dan Quinn because Dan Quinn name has came up in reference to the band.
Huge loss.
I was gonna say, that came up. His name came up as
right. I'm here right now with what I know. With what I know, the intel that I have is because of John Madden, because I've always been a lifelong Bears fan, but I used to like to watch Kenny Stabler because he was a left-handed quarterback. But they had a squad. Their defense was nasty. Utterly. You got you got Tatum, you got Dave Casper on there, you got the Snake, you got Mr. Fred sticking Bolitnikov. You could throw him up against 5 dog defensive backs. You see that one little arm go up and get a catch. What I loved about John Madden, and I laugh and I always mention Madden football games, I'm telling you right now, that was the best thing that could have happened for Intel, because what he did is they created a video game and they consulted him. And what he does with his all-Madden team, people think the all-Madden, oh, these are great guys. He picks guys that he knows that are the stuff. So when he would describe plays, you're so used to saying, oh, guy's going to run right, run left. He's like, oh, well, we've got a trips left right here. Well, this guy's going to clear out and this guy's going to come here. Meanwhile, the key to that side is a defensive tackle seals off 2 guys. And you're looking at it like, what? After a while, now you start understanding. And as you get to watching it enough, you start looking at stuff like the Bears offense. And the first thing you ask yourself is, that's common sense. Why don't they do it? And everything about it and everything about my knowledge as far as football is concerned, I got it from John Madden, man. Rest up, brother. Rest up.
What do y'all think about the special? I'm sorry, go from John Madden. Y'all can comment on John Madden if y'all want to. I just want to bring up special teams. How do y'all grade special teams today? Let's start off with you, Jay.
I give them an incomplete, really, because they really didn't do nothing special. I know Pat O'Donnell had a bad game today. He punted a couple short and punted a couple out of bounds. Um, y'all don't get. I don't even care. I don't care. I get him an incomplete. I give him an incomplete because it wasn't nothing special. It wasn't.
Yeah, I give him
We
an
had no
incomplete too.
returns, no nothing. So I give him an incomplete.
Yeah.
I am no
Okay.
quitter.
What about you,
For
Frank?
special teams, I gave him a C. And I'll tell you why. We had Santos got out there, made the 2 kicks he was asked to make. They also, Thomas
Chip shot.
Graham caught the ball and dialed it at the 2-yard line, which put us in position to get the safety.
Let's get the
All
safety.
of this stuff ends up playing in together. So special
Yeah.
teams, they did decent. They didn't, they weren't really world beaters, but I still give them a C. C's make degrees.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your grade on special teams, guy?
I give him a C as well too. I mean, I'm looking at something right here. Grant had 1 punt return for a yard. Herbert had 1 for 16. Grant had 1 for 16. I think our special teams did, they weren't lights out, but to be perfectly honest with you, they were kind of in a position where all they had to do is be bend and don't break today. All they had to do is just not drop the bag and be okay. So I can understand what Jay said incomplete. I'm just for a record. I'm just going to give him a C.
Okay.
Try not to suck. That's all we do.
Yeah. Looking at that
Right.
the one play as far as Thomas Graham, it's interesting when your head coach used to be a special teams coach, and I think about that play where Thomas Graham downed it, where the kick returner actually let the ball hit the ground before they realized it wasn't going to travel anywhere, which set up that play for the safety. But you know what? That shows that there's actually teams out here that are coached worse than the Bears are coached.
Pretty much.
That's the only conclusion I can come with that there are teams out here that are actually coached worse than we're being coached. But that's why I do not subscribe to when people say, when you start talking about making changes and they say, anybody is better than this guy. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
That's 100%
Anybody is not
false.
better than this guy. You need to do your homework and research, because that's one of the things too that I believe happen in big cities like us is once those coaches or whoever start performing bad, that the fans call for change to a degree that anybody is better than this guy.
Right.
And that's
Versus,
not true.
let's get somebody who's actually, we want to be good at this. Not just any guy is better than this guy, because you can see from today, anybody is not better than your guy sometimes. And there are guys that are worse than the person that you have, and you really have to do your homework and research. And I want to lead to another point, and maybe we could talk about it on the Friday show or some other shows. I really would like to see the Bears put together like almost like a board of ex-players that would help them, where they kind of like you do a board of directors, where they get together and maybe suggest a name for whatever, personnel, etc., but something along that line where those players just come in like a board of directors, temporarily, and put a name in front of. What you got, Plank? I see you look like you're emotional.
To that point, shout out to Lemonhead, who came on a couple of months ago and kind of talked about defensive strategies. One of the things that he said is that you plan against the coordinators. So you're not even playing against the head coach or whatever. You're playing against the tendencies of the offensive coordinators if you're a defensive player, and the defensive coordinator if you're an offensive player. So that in and of itself lets you know that it's a whole lot more cerebral than people give you credit for as a football player. So I just want to make sure I mention that point.
You know what the Bears are? The Bears are technology stupid. And this is what I mean by that. Back in the day, and y'all know this, back in the day, I would say like the 70s, maybe even early 80s, if you saw a squad out there, you knew for sure that the best players on that squad in those positions were playing there. Why? Because they didn't have a social media. They had to do straight up research eye test. They put you out on the practice field. They watch what your tendencies are with certain plays. They see how you play with the first string. They see how you do in pressure situations. They see how you do in like third and long, third and short. all different types of scenarios. And then they look at the guys that they have and see who suits us the best. Now you got TikTok, you got YouTube, you got people online putting all types of stuff out there, and they don't use it. And to be perfectly honest with you, with bad teams, you want to say, oh, they got the best players. Well, we just proved it. You know, Thomas Graham Jr. hasn't been out there. We got all the technology in the world. There is nowhere in the world. And that's why I said all along, what they need to do is bring all these guys in training camp. All of y'all jobs is up. You got to earn your job. And then now you go get guys playing harder and you'll have a better assessment. Had they gone that route, we would have probably had our secondary would have looked a lot different. And they probably would have put guys in certain situations, you know, but that's just me. Maybe I'm just too old, but I liked football back in the days because I knew for sure that if a guy's safety couldn't cover a guy, because it wasn't the first time that you had a cornerback that wasn't as fast as a wide receiver. What did they do? The defensive coordinator created a scheme to whereas that dude, no matter what happened, if they ran long, he was going to always have help. Now it's that just basically, oh, well, he did real good. He did the log challenge. No, he did the crate challenge 3 times with his eyes closed, and he made it. So he's going to be a great cornerback. And then they seem surprised that every time they put a third string receiver out there, this dude's getting burnt.
Okay. Hey, I want to backtrack for a minute, guy, because earlier I had thought about this when you mentioned Cole Kmet. I think Jay mentioned Cole Kmet, and in the play design you mentioned the tight end. I was looking at some stats earlier this week, and Cole Kmet is in the in the NFC. He ranks, I believe it was fourth. I think it was 4th or 6th for the most drop passes in the NFC. That is very concerning. That the amount of years he's in the league and he's still dropping that many passes. And if you think about it, it's not like it's a product of a whole lot of targets, because you can't expect that when a player is targeted a lot. It can sometimes going from not being targeted much to you may have what appears to be dropped because you target it more often. But he's not a product of just a lot of targets. To me, is not really what the Bears wanted. I shouldn't say wanted, that's what they wanted, but he has not developed into what I envision their tight end to be, which has become why the Bears have missed, for example, like a Tyreek Cohen so much, because you don't have that tight end who can take those plays. Because even on the screenplay they threw to him, he got chased down from behind, and really the screenplay, it's nothing about Cole Kmet at this point that is impressive to me. I see you nodding your head, Jay. What you have?
I want to respectfully disagree with you, because I think Cole Kmet can actually be a top 10 tight end in this league. But the inconsistency at quarterback play has not allowed him to be the player that he can be. That's just my opinion. He's only in his second year. I watched a lot of film on because I'm a college football guru guy. I love college football, but I just think that Cole Kmet could be a top 5 or 10 tight end in this league. But just with the inconsistent quarterback play and the this whole offense, I don't want to judge nobody on this offense with this coaching staff in place. Because like you mentioned, he's 6th in drops in the NFL. I think Darnell Mooney is 4th in drops in the NFL. I don't want to judge nobody with this coaching staff offensively until we get somebody else in here that actually know what the hell they doing. And that's just the bottom line. That's just the bottom line, man. I'm sorry.
I see your point there, Jay. I think Cole Kmet, I think he can be a serviceable tight end. I think his major problem is he's got bad hand placement. Most of the time when I'm watching the passes he's trying to catch, it's almost like he didn't play Pee Wee football and nobody told him how to hold
Hey, you're a
his hand.
defensive guy. You're a defensive guy. You don't know about no hand placement.
I've had the league get intercepted,
but you're right.
Okay.
But you're right. But you're exactly right. Hand placement has a lot to do with catching footballs. It does. As a wide receiver and tight end, it has a lot to do with it. But I don't want to judge nobody on this offense.
Yeah, and I think because we be critical of a player, that doesn't mean we're saying the player is a bust. is that we have an expectation for a player.
Right.
And to be honest, is look at last year. We was ripping Robert Quinn a new one every show last year.
We were.
Okay.
Uncle Rob.
Because we're right.
Yeah, Keith.
He was deserving of what we were saying last year.
Money. Right.
Yeah, he was deserving of it. But that has nothing to do with what we said last year based off his performance this year. Because you know what? Sometimes professional players, they were so good at every level that they were at. They might have been the best players in high school. They might have been the best players on a college team. Sometime in the pro, this is the first time that some of them was actually been faced with, I'm just an average guy right now.
Absolutely.
And they haven't really taken that extra time to put in to make them beyond that average guy. And so sometimes the criticism is what they need sometimes to make them put in that work because they think they could just turn it on. No, it takes hard work on this level to be successful at what you are. And I'm pointing to Cole Kmet because I'm hoping he put that time in the offseason because he has potential. He needs to work on his hand placement, like Plank saying, and he needs to work on his route running. His route running is not that crisp at times.
Right.
And he could improvement, and I really would love to see the Bears reduce some of their tight ends next year and put some of their resources in other places beyond tight ends because what we had about 6 tight ends this year.
Mm-hmm. And hey, can I just add something real quick? You know what? Sometimes winning, there's attrition with losing. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to give you an instance. Okay, when I played baseball, we went up against like a top pitcher, and I was always like the 3 guy. So usually the onus for a lot of guys was if you struck out or you got a hit, you go back. The first thing they're saying is, what are you throwing? How you doing? I never wanted to know. Because you want to know why? Because if the pitch is on and he's striking guys out, it don't matter what he's throwing. And I think that a lot of times you get caught in this web of, okay, he throws this and I got to look out. Now I'm going up to the plate and I'm thinking too much. I don't care what he throws. In my mind, I think whatever he pitches, if it's in the spot I need it, I'm going to hit it. Now, how does that relate to Kmet? A lot of times you see guys dropping balls. Sometimes it's just from a psychological, from a concentration standpoint. I mean, these are professionals and these guys do their things, but I mean, nobody's perfect, but sometimes it's just a domino effect. Because if you saw that one game where Mooney dropped the pass, about 4 or 5 plays later, Kmet gets a pass and he drops it. And it's not always necessary. I think he does have to do a better job. But my suggestion, get you a roll of duct tape, and before you come out there, open that joke up and just smash. I'm serious. I used to do this, man, because the bat would slip and you couldn't put too much pine tar on there or you would get called out. So I would take some duct tape on my bare hands, on my hand that was bare, and I would just keep hitting it like this. And what happens is when you look at my hands, it looks like this, but it's sticky. Do the Bolitnikov or something like that, or get a gorilla to spit in your palm.
NFL,
it's already in the gloves. Hey, guy, it's already in the gloves. The gloves have some kind of
I was trying to make it. I'm trying to make an excuse for him.
On the gloves.
Man,
I was trying to make an excuse for him, man.
Man, we had what these guys. If we had what these guys had right now when I was playing, man, they got everything. They got everything. Them gloves that y'all see them on. Hey, them gloves are everything.
They not like them old Newmans. Them old Newmans were good, but they were kind of slick.
Hey, these guys ain't making these one-handed catches by themselves.
Yeah, these gloves got some kind of heat.
But you remember, did you use Newmans? I used to use Newmans, and the thing was, the first Newmans, like in the 80s, they were good. Like when you played April, when guys are throwing fastballs on your fist to hit the vibration, but they was kind of clunky and kind of slick. So when I would watch receivers back in the 80s that was catching with Newmans, I used to like, how the hell are they catching balls and they not sliding out, man? Hey, gotta do a little more of this. Get that little ball and squeak. Well, you know.
Hey, so the last game of the season will be against the Minnesota Vikings to close out the season. Both teams, neither team are going to have any playoffs aspirations. This may be a tough game.
They losing tonight.
They losing right now? Okay.
No, they play Green Bay tonight, but they losing. Kirk Cousins out on the COVID list. They losing tonight. They got a quarterback that's starting this coming off the practice squad. They're not even starting Kellen Mond, which is actually surprising to me since they just drafted him this past draft. but they starting somebody. I can't even recall his name, but they gonna lose tonight. Brett Favre going. No, I'm sorry, not Brett Favre. Y'all know I love Brett Favre, but
Brett Favre could
Aaron
won that
Rodgers.
game today.
Aaron Rodgers would have a field. Him and Devontae Adams. Oh my God, y'all want to watch somebody look good tonight? Watch Devontae Adams. Oh my God, the dude he's silky smooth. He's silky smooth.
Kirk Cousins wants to throw us the ball, so I can't wait for him to play next week.
Silky smooth.
Yeah, because Kirk is our cousin.
Right.
I'm looking forward to Robert Quinn getting additional sacks against the Vikings next week.
Good job again.
I would like to see some of our defensive backs get their bonus for the amount of interceptions that Kirk Cousins is going to get to us.
They've been sucking, so nope. Don't get
but
all
you know
the
what? Kirk Cousins may not even play. And I'm thinking about it because Kirk Cousins is actually out on the COVID list right now.
On the COVID list, right? He might not even play next week.
He might not be able to play. You're right.
Yeah.
But now, due to the provisions of COVID, they're only giving you a 5-day maximum to go out. So he might be out there.
He wasn't vaccinated though.
But he might not even. Yeah, 10 days.
He's
might not even
too,
throw.
so.
He could be up in the line of scrimmage like, Black. He could be like, man, look, just throw the damn ball. It's all good. Get this completion. We'll trip your boy.
Yep. So, hey, I'd like to thank everybody who's tuned in today on Facebook and YouTube. Hey, do y'all have any closing remarks before we close out for the day and get ready for Bears Banner for Friday?
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
Go Bears. Okay.
A guy trying to make the snow with the little.
Let it snow. Okay.
That's it, man.
Hey,
that's it.
Thank you.
R.I.P. Max
Everybody
Jr.
Have a nice evening. Peace.
Peace.